Hi there and welcome back. I am Bo Lorentzen, the FPV guy. Today we're going to be looking at one of the other 350 size multirotors. When I say the other, it's because we can't talk about 350 size multirotors without recognizing the elephant in the room, which is of course the DJI Phantom 1, 2, and 3 series. Those are what everybody consider being the 350s, but 350 is a wonderful size. They're fairly compact, about this big. They're easy to travel with. They fit in a carry-on suitcase or in a carry-on case, so you can take them in the cabin on an airplane. All of those little details makes them very attractive. And of course, DJI does not have a monopoly on 350s, and some of the ones out there are actually very interesting propositions. Today we have with us the Walkera QR350 Pro Premium Limited. That's a mouthful for you right there. It's about that long in writing, but what it is the 350 series has finally grown up, and they now have a premium and a limited edition with 2 built-in cameras. I mean, let me grab this real quickly. We know Walkera started with this 350 here, and that's kind of was, and actually a good little flyer. They have very quiet propellers, but that was last year's 350. Let's take a look at this year's 350. This is what we got on the plate today. It is what I would call a big box. And I'm gonna go ahead and fess up right now. I have actually taken the liberty of emptying this box and building the aircraft. So what I'm gonna do is show you what we got. Let's get rid of the box. Like I told you, this is a big box. So if you are buying one of these things, make sure you've got a good room in the back seat to taking it home. As I said, I took the liberty of building this, and here we go. This is actually what was in the box. And also in the box is the standard F12E radio with this built-in screen, and it is kind of a smart radio because it has a lot of channels, it has a lot of features that it can enable in the Apm controller on this aircraft. Let's take a look. Before we get into this, I'm going to show you the rest of the box contents, just so you don't feel left out. And I know some of you guys just absolutely love the shaking out of all the goods, but it takes a lot of time, and we've got more fun things to talk about. Now you will see me looking up here. That's because that's where my detail camera is. So in the box we have a 8S charger. This is the quite standard Sky RC charger. Quite effective, does exactly what it's supposed to. Takes a cable on the back, 100 to 240 volts. You can use this pretty much anywhere in the world. Good little charger. We're done with that. And the kit also comes with 2 complete set of propellers. So there's a total of 8 propellers included. Before you start flying, you should make sure you balance all of those. Also in the kit, see if I can get that up here where you can see it, is the specific cable that's going to allow you to plug into the 8S charger and into the battery. So this is a battery specific cable. Please don't lose that. And power cord for the charger. That cord will probably be slightly different depending on what country you live in. And down here is the manual, the quick start guide, and also a DVD with drivers, etc. We're not going to read that right now. Also, here is a bunch of cables. One of the great things, as always with Walkera, is they always include a kit with all the Allen wrenches and what kind of wrenches you're going to need to actually finish this project. So anything you need is included here. And one of the things I liked, I found right here, that is a cable for a 600 milliwatt immersion RC video transmitter included in the kit. I'm not sure why, but I sure will take it. So that's wonderful. Here is one USB cable and there is one more USB. So there's 2 USB cables included because this aircraft now has 2 different USB ports. Finally, there's also the standard trainer cable. This cable goes into the back of your RC controller, this one, and you can hook it into another RC controller so that you can have an experienced pilot flying with you. Oh, there's one thing left. This little thing right here, as you know, I'm not a big fan of these because they're kind of hard to install the cameras, and I instead use rubber bands. So let's get to the aircraft. Here you have it, the 350 Premium Limited Edition. What's making the Limited special is it is a direct answer to the DJI Phantom 3 Advanced Edition. And it's actually a very interesting answer. First of all, up front here, we have a built-in flight camera. You can see it right here that gives you video, for instance, that you could view on your Fat Shark goggles. You can also view it on your receiver, or you could view it on an exterior monitor with a built-in receiver like this one. So the great thing about this, have you noticed how I keep saying you can see it on this other receiver? That is because if you get a DJI Phantom, you have to use either an iPad 3 or an advanced Android tablet to see the video from it. You cannot immediately see it on any one of the many available 5.8 gigahertz video devices. And also, when you buy a DJI Phantom, you have to get the screen, the smartphone or the tablet to see video. The Walkera radio actually includes this screen, so you're able to see what video you're recording without buying any additional equipment. That is money saved right there. So up here we have 2 transmitters going on. Here is the flight transmitter, and down underneath is the antenna for that. Then down here we have the gimbal, which is the yaw dampening G-3D gimbal. What that means is it will dampen your yaw movements and it will dampen pitch and roll. You can adjust the pitch, but you cannot pan it because it's just meant to dampen that movement. This one was actually meant originally to come with either this camera or that camera. It wasn't intended to come with both, but Walkera decided it is good to have a flight camera, and I gotta tell you, I have been installing a flight camera on all of my multicopters, so I think this is brilliant. Now, I'm not so keen on the angle. If you look at the angle of this camera, if you can see it here, it's mostly looking down. It's actually a fisheye camera. So when you're flying, it's kind of looking down and a little bit up towards the horizon. It is mostly an orientation camera so that you can orientate the aircraft with that, and then you can use another screen to adjust the actual shot you're going to be taking. So they really made a fully loaded aircraft here. It comes with all the bells and whistles that they have available. The included iLook Plus camera is a 1080p camera with a built-in video transmitter. So you have 2 video transmitters going on here, and you can use them either way you want. You can choose on the radio which one you're going to be seeing. And of course, from the radio right here on this switch, you can start and stop the video recording. You can also, on the side of the radio with these sliders, adjust the angle of the camera. Since this was originally designed to be available with just the little fisheye camera for FPV, it also comes with a really cool little set of squat legs that is collapsible, and you can fold them up like this, stick them on the aircraft and fold them down. I call it the backpack legs. One of the cool things about how Walkera has chosen to do this is the camera that's included is what I call a Gopro form factor. So we can take this camera, unplug it over here, remove the rubber band, And here is, in case you want to see it, that is the camera. On the back you have the adjustment right here for the frequencies, and on this side you can switch between still pictures or video recording, and of course put a micro SD card in right there. We're going to put that away for a minute, and instead I'm going to grab a GoPro 4 Silver Edition. That's the one with the screen on the back, and we're going to put that right in here, push it in place. The front screen on mine is a bit loose because I may possibly have crashed it once or twice. So we're going to put this rubber band back on, and just like that we have upgraded this gimbal from being 1080p to be a full-fledged GoPro gimbal, and we can record, of course, 1080p, 2.7K or 4K with a GoPro gimbal or GoPro camera. So that means you are able to change the camera you put on here. You can also put something like an SJ4000 or an SJ5000 that is also GoPro form factor cameras. They will also fit directly into this gimbal. And so that's one of the things I really like about this, because when I buy this one, I'm not locked into a particular brand or gimbal camera that's born in place on the aircraft. Let's take this off again. It's so easy, and that is why I'm always using a couple of rubber bands. It's very easy to take things on and off. But now that we know how easy it is to remove cameras, let's take a look at some of the cool features here. Underneath here, let me bring it over to the detail camera, and you can see this little door right here. That door contains a USB plug and 2 power plugs. So this allows you to plug in, for instance, an Immersion RC 600 milliwatt transmitter and plug in the cable that's included directly into this plug. So Walkera has chosen to make this totally compatible with aftermarket accessories. I think that is a brilliant move. On the other side over here, you can see where this cable comes in right there. And that cable is the control cable for the gimbal controller. I'm going to remove the gimbal controller right now, so I'm just going to yank that out. There we go. The gimbal is no longer connected. And to pull the gimbal forward, I am going to remove the flight camera. And here comes the gimbal. Now, you're not actually supposed to be doing it that way, and I would use a rubber band to secure this back in place when flying it, but just for the demonstration I did not put a rubber band on it. If we look underneath here, you will see that this has a quick mount track right here. It's like a T track, and you can use that to really quickly slide the gimbal on like you just saw me do. But I'm going to start taking this apart. So the way this comes apart is 2 screws right here. 1 and 2. That's how easy that was. The little gimbal track has been removed. And next you can see there's 2 little finger screws right here, one there and one there. So we can take these off. But before I do that, now, because this can carry any gimbal you want. You can attach any gimbal you can imagine underneath here. Like, so why not? Here is a flare. This is actually a flare camera. Let's see if you can read it that way. I don't know if you can see that, but it says flare on the back side. That's a flare infrared camera right here. 640 lines for search and rescue operations. And it comes with a mount right here for a GoPro mount. So you could envision sticking a mount underneath here and attach, for search and rescue, a flare camera under the belly, and then in the front stick the visual light camera. Now you're able to use visual light and use the infrared camera with this thing because it already has the power out. It's very easy to connect these things. So you can put, basically I have to put a lens hood back on this. We never want to leave this kind of camera unprotected. So put that back down and let's take a look here. Let's pull the legs off. One. The other great thing, since everything here is screws and those are twist on propellers. So that's the tail, that's the legs for when you fly with gimbals. Let's instead put the little travel legs, I call it the backpack legs, on. There. For the life of me, I can't understand why they didn't center that, but hey, it works and it's easy to do. Just like that, we now have a nice little collapsible thing, and we'll take this little travel camera. And by the way, on the travel camera, if you look right down here, you can see the little hole, and that's where the micro switches is, so that you can change the frequency of the travel camera. Especially if you're using both of these, you want to have both of them set up with different frequencies so you can see both of them on different screens. This goes back in here, and now you have the little flight camera with its transmitter right here, and the lovely little collapsible travel legs, as I call them. Up on top we have, and the great thing is, just like that, that's how easy you remove the propeller. And they only go on one way, so you don't have to worry about putting propellers on the wrong way. Just twist them down, give them a really good tuck, and now you're ready to fly. On the back side of this aircraft, we'll turn this around, you're going to find a smart battery, and it's quite a monster smart battery. This one is an 8S battery. But the great thing with an 8S is it's very punchy. That means when you hit the throttle, this thing is going to pick up, it's going to really go fast. So you have a ton of punch on this, which gives it a lot of extra control force and means it's easy for this thing to carry its payload and be very stable in the air. So 8S has a lot of advantages. Now it is a smart battery, so the way it works is you slide the switch to on. You see that the light came on, and once you've done that, you push the button up here, and that engages the battery. Now you can see it is fully charged, and it's ready. So if it had been installed here, it would now fire up the aircraft. I don't like to fire up the aircraft with the propellers on. And by the way, when you charge these, what you have to do is, on the side here is the balance tab. So right there, that's where you put the balance cable in, and then you put the cable, the power charging cable with the two flat pins in here. It only goes in one way, and you need to make sure it is turned on for the charging, because that's how it charged. When it's fully charged, what you can do is just go ahead and slide the switch to off, and you're done. Do that after you disconnect it from the charger. And now I have turned it back off. I gotta tell you, this little rubber thing here, it kind of bugs me, and I envision myself removing that by yanking it off pretty quickly. So there it is. I think I'm actually really liking the look. It's the squat little travel look of this thing. I like that you can remove the legs from the travel version really easily. You can throw this on a backpack pretty quickly, and it would not be unthinkable to ask one of your friends to stick legs and a gimbal and camera in their backpack. So this is very easy to travel with, which to me is an important feature. And of course, I'm really liking that they actually had the foresight to make a power plug right here. I'm used to having to take these things apart, cut them open, solder cables in order to get power out for the things I want to put on my equipment. Now all I have to do is plug this thing in, and now I'm hooked up and I'm powered. So that really makes it a very easy to modify aircraft the way I see it. And that's what I like about this. My first project with this, like I was saying, is going to be sending it flying in search patterns to experiment with flying the infrared camera in search patterns. And for that, the QR350 Premium is simply an ideal little aircraft. Let's take a look, before we move on here, at the actual radio. I've got to be careful with these propellers. On the radio here, I don't know if you can see it. I should put it right about there. Now you can. Up on top, right here, you have the screen, and it's possible to pull up telemetry from the aircraft, or choose to use the OSD from the Fisheye Camera here. Let's close that one again, and down here is the power switch. Inside you're gonna find it comes with an 8 battery cradle. However, I usually will use any battery. Let's see if I have someone here, such as, you can see the yellow one here. That is a 1500 milliamp 3S battery. And Walkera has actually made, right in here, if you can see, there is a plug for 2S or 3S batteries. So you can plug in the balance tap directly, and that is gonna give you instant power with any battery you have in your box. Now, up on top here, we have some of the built-in features. First of all, before you turn this on, make sure you install the 2 video antennas. Here is the control antenna that is 2.4, and over here is the video link antenna that is 5.8. Once you turn on the aircraft, what you want to do is turn on the radio and turn on the aircraft immediately, and those two are now going to bind together. Once it's bind, the red blinking light is going to stop blinking, and you'll know you're now hooked up. One of the really important things with an APM aircraft is let it wait 3 minutes. Just let it sit there. Don't be in a rush. And if it takes a little longer than 3 minutes to wait, that's okay. You should never fly this with less than 3 blinks. If it doesn't give you 3 GPS blinks on the back, don't fly it. Just plain and simple. But always give it at least 3 minutes. Just let it wait a bit. That's gonna get you much less unhappy surprises with these aircrafts. Now, once you have that, you can arm it. And once it's armed, you can use the switch up on the side here, which is the auto takeoff. All you do is flip it up, and it's now gonna pop 10 feet or about 3 meters into the air. Once it gets up there, you can take over and start flying it by the regular sticks. Now, this particular model does not have retracts. And I gotta tell you, I think that's a great idea, because retracts are just waiting for damage. So removing the retracts from this thing also made it more travel worthy, more modular, and easier to deal with. Moving across here on the control, over on the other side here, you're seeing the flight modes. Pushed all the way up is where I like to be. It is manual. Flip it down 1 move, and now you're in GPS, so if you let go of the sticks, the aircraft is just gonna hang there. Finally, push it all the way down to return to home, and when you do that, it's gonna come back and it's gonna land right about where you started. When you start, make sure you start from a space that has enough space around it so that when it comes back, even if it's off by a yard or 2, it's not gonna fly into something. Now, using the return to home is very important to remember. Both you want to make some space so you have a place to land, but you also want to make sure you don't have anything in the path home. Because when you flip to return to home, the aircraft is going to go straight line between where it is at the moment and where it started. So if you have a big building or a mountain in between, guess what? It's going to run into that. So always keep that in mind. It's not always that return to home is a good move. Sometimes it's better to leave it in GPS and fly it home manually. The next switch moving on here is the video start stop. That one is on the side here, and it will start stop both of the cameras. If you have 2 installed, it will start stop both of them. If only one of them is installed, guess what? It will only start stop that one. To start recording, you flip it down and back up like that. About a second, 1001, 1002, back up. Now it started. It's like you push the button. To stop the recording, you just repeat and flip it down and back up. And now the recording is stopped. So that's easy. Over on the side here, you have the fly around mode. Flip it up, and now actually flip it up 1 click. And now it's going to start flying around sideways around something with the camera facing towards whatever it's flying around. In the menu here, you can change the parameter to how big of a circle you want it to fly. But this is the switch So when you're facing what you want to fly around, let's assume you have set up the correct amount of distance. Flip the switch and the aircraft is going to start a slow movement around it, so you get a really nice shot for your video. I'm going to hurry up and say the way I like to do that actually is I use the roll switch, which is this one. I move the roll a little bit to the right, and then move the yaw a little bit to the left. That's going to make it start moving and start panning while it's flying. And I'm pretty used to flying this, so it's very easy for me to fly around something without having to use any automated feature. But in the beginning, it's much easier to use the automated features. Finally, over on this side, close to the auto start, we have the Intelligent Orientation Control, IOC. That switch, when you turn it on, changes the logic of how the aircraft moves. Right now, when I do forward, backwards, everything here like forward is based on the aircraft's forward. But when I engage the IOC, and remember, do not engage the IOC till you're at least 30 feet away from home. So 30 feet after you start, get in the air, move out 30 feet, and you can engage the IOC. Now what it does is, whenever I move this pin or the stick forward, it's going to move the aircraft further away. When I pull it back, it pulls the aircraft back towards me. Pushing to the right, the aircraft moves to my right, and if I keep going, essentially it's going to make a circle around me, keep going to my right, to my left, right, forward, and backwards. So that's how backwards towards me. Away from me, back towards me, move to the right, move to the left. That's what's great about the IOC. It's a very easy way if you're flying, especially for video, because you're not having to worry about what way the aircraft is actually facing in the air. And now, while you're recording, you can use the yaw or the pan on this stick, on the left stick here, and that's going to let you simply pan a little bit to the left, pan a little bit to the right, but it does not change the way the aircraft moves because you are in IOC, and when you push out, it's going to move away from you, but you can pan and follow your object without worrying about it. Still going to continue to just move away from you, and when you do like this, it's going to come back towards you. And you can again, while it's coming back towards you, you can adjust your pan again. Now, one thing that's really important is when you get to 30 feet, this turns off and goes back to, so it goes off and now it's feeling like flying GPS again. So I always try to, when I get closer to the 30 feet, I try to yaw it so that it has tail in, and with the tail in, when I get to the point where it turns off, I won't get surprised because pull back is still back because now the tail is in. Now, while we're talking about this, I usually buy from Walkera the black propellers, like these ones instead of the white ones for the front, just because if you tilt it a lot and the propeller gets in the picture, black doesn't show up as much. And I also like to have different color propellers on the front and the rear. And Walkera offer propellers in black, gray, and white. So I usually like to fly the black ones on front. Also, before you start flying, make sure you balance all of these. I use a Gopro, that's Gopro right here, the Gopro balancer. And I'm kind of a simple guy. So what I have done is I wrapped some gaff tape around the end of the stick. It doesn't take a whole lot. All I did was wrap just enough here that when you press it on, the prop stays in place. That's really all there is to it. Then I put it down on the Gopro balancer, and there's no doubt this prop is not balanced. What I found out in reality for these demonstrations is that the air conditioner up there messes with me and tend to turn my propellers. So I've given up actually balancing them on video. Let me tell you what we do though. This thing seems to be heavier, so we would be finding facing the leading edge of the prop, which is here, and I put a piece of tape right on the leading edge, and I put tape until it is perfectly stable and it stays in place when I let go of it. Secondarily, I will put it on end like this, and now I will put a piece of tape on either side of the hub until it also stays in place. So basically, the prop should stay in place regardless where you put it, and you should start balancing it until it's perfectly balanced and stays in place in any position. Do that to all your props. Never start flying till all your props is balanced, because the vibrations from the props will create jello on your video, and since we are video people, we really don't want jello. Secondarily, if you have heavy, I'm sure you have driven a car with unbalanced tires and you can feel the steering wheel is going like this. You don't want the vibrations to affect the flight controller inside here, because enough vibrations can mess with the flight controller or even shut it down in flight. So perfectly balanced propellers is, just do it. You have to do it before you fly. Alrighty then, so let's wrap this up. What we're getting here from Walkera is a very comprehensive little kit, and I actually think it's pretty compelling value. In the standard kit here, first of all, it comes with the controller, which is a smart controller. It has the automatic features, the auto takeoff, the auto circle around, and you can switch into the intelligent orientation mode from this. And most importantly, it's got the built-in screen. But I have been using the Devo F12E now for about 1.5 years, and everything I have that is either home built or Walkera is flying on this radio, simply because it's actually a really good little radio. So I like the radio. In addition to the radio, maybe the most interesting feature is right under this deck, and you can actually see it here. This is a pop open lid right here on top. This is where the flight controller is sitting. In here under the lid is an Apm Flight Controller. The Apm Flight Controller can be programmed using an Android tablet or a PC laptop or a PC at home. You can plug into it and you can easily set up to fly a pattern like a grid back and forth over a field to evaluate the field, or you can do search and rescue with it, because you very easily can set up flight patterns in this aircraft. The built-in receiver both have 2.4 from the radio, but it also has 2.4 reception from this Bluetooth unit right here. And you can see right on the side, there's actually 2 different antennas right here on the side. Included in the kit is the ground station Bluetooth controller right here that allows you to literally fly the multirotor from your iPhone, an iOS device, or from an Android tablet or Android phone. So we also got the ground station option included in the kit. Finally, of course, it comes with a fisheye camera that you can see on the screen on the controller, or you can see it with or without the OSD, and it also comes with the tall legs, and it comes with the 3-axis gimbal with the iLook Plus camera, which is a quite decent 1080p camera with a built-in video transmitter that you can choose to see on your controller, or you can choose to see it on any other device like my Fat Shark goggles here. And that's really one of the great things with Walkera's equipment, that it works with Fat Shark goggles like what I use out of the box. I don't have to do anything to it. And also, of course, the gimbal for the iLook Plus allows me to attach a GoPro instead. So it's a very modular system. It's very easy to set up, and I'm thinking this is pretty compelling value for the $9.99 they're asking for this kit. So that's about it. That's all I have to tell you about this quite cool little kit. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you for the next videos coming up. As you can imagine, obviously I'm very excited to hook an infrared camera to this aircraft, and I'm going to be putting some videos up showing what I'm doing with this aircraft while flying with forward-looking infrared cameras.